And to continue with our program, may I call on our Youth Service Chairperson, Director Alfred Ocresio, for the opening remarks.
To our Charter President, Professor Marinduque, to my fellow members of the Rotary International, Rotary Club of Marinduque Premier, to the members of Rotaract CS and Interact MNHS, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. So we are here this afternoon to conduct and perform and participate in an important simulation or performance for the Model United Nations Assembly, or MUNA, led by Rotary Club of Marinduque Premier in partnership with Rotary Club of Marinduque North. So I hope that we enjoy ourselves this afternoon. We perform our best and may the best group win. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Youth Service Director Alfred Ocresio. Once again, let us give Director Ocresio our applause. And to continue, so we can properly acknowledge our dear guests, visitors, and friends who are present here. We have our Executive Secretary as well as President-elect, Ms. Cora Adato Borja.
Okay, my task is, of course, to acknowledge our guests and the participants in this particular activity. So first, of course, in our list, we start with our distinguished guests. I've already acknowledged my student, my favorite. Sana wala marami pa yata akong student dito, Konse. So admit na ako. My favorite student is now Konsehal of our town of Buwak, Mark Angelo Elvina. Also with us, and of course, he has always been very supportive of this club. We have the future, the incoming Assistant Governor of District 3820, who's also the past president way back 2013, first-class president. Let us give a round of applause for Mr. Giovanni Madrigal. Present also, hindi ito mawawala because she is one of the pillars of the Rotary Club Marinduque Premier. Correct niya, baka sumamalit sa ang Rotary Club Marinduque North. Rotary Club Marinduque Premier, our advisor and the past president of RCMN, Ma'am Evangeline Vanchi Landia, is also our club advisor. May kontrata yan, 5 years. Okay? Now, for those who are members of the RCMP, let me start off, of course, with the chairman, with the director pala. The director of the youth service, ang nagmana ng aking paboritong trabaho. Let us welcome Director Alfredo Ocresio III. Okay? Hindi ko na papangkitin kasi kita-kita naman, nandito ako. So, I am presently the Executive Secretary. Sino pa ba? Marami din po tayong friends. I hope some of you can do an FB live even for a while because they're actually looking forward to see the first MUNA of the Rotary Club Marinduque Premier. Okay, let me also acknowledge we have here our special guests, Interact, the only one. Kasi may activity sila, no? We have our Interact member from the MNHS, ako Sydney Malimata, sa daughter of a good friend of mine. Yan. Actually, napaka-loyal niya sa akin kasi ang Interact, di ba ma'am, may activity dun sa bayan. But she's with us because she committed she's committed in helping us with our Rotary. Siyempre, ang Rotary officers, please stand up. Rotary officers, let me acknowledge you. Ayan. Later, ayun, yung aking news. And ano? Ayan. What about the officers of the other session? Okay na ba? Asan? Wala pa? Mag-o-only na kayo, wala kayong aming lineup. Okay, you may now be seated. Rotaractors, based in Sayas. And then, syempre, ang Class A, kayo naman kayo dyan. Class A. Tingnan mo na, ako, yan. Full class. Let's give them a round of applause, Class B. And, okay, sila ang in charge ng pagrampa. No? Okay. And, the other section will now be seated. Let me check the attendance of Class... Ano ba yung sa kanina? Class B? Class A? Class B. Tayo! Yan. So, sila naman yung mga brains. Yung isa mga model, sila ang mga brains naman. Ayan. Okay? Ay, ako. May umingay. You may now be seated. Sino pa ba? Siyempre, hindi mo makakalimutan ang tagapagmana ng aking trabaho. I'd like to give a round of applause to Director Rotarian Romeo Mataa. Yan. Hindi natin dapat kalimutan ang very supportive na Rotaractors na hanggang alauna kasama ko magpuyat. Ang aking firstborn son, si Emil, na ayaw na raw niya mag-Rotaract. Rotarian na raw siya. Best value. Oo. Bula. And syempre, ang Executive Secretary ng Executive Secretary, si Ann Sarina Borja. Ayan. Sila ang secret weapon ko, kaya nakakaya ko mag-one-woman show ng mga projects ng RCMT. Okay? So yan po, I hope we know everybody, no? We know one another because this is a very wonderful opportunity to be acquainted with parliamentary procedure, and thank you for being with us even kung galing lang po natin sa Bagyo. Thank you so much.
Okay, I need to call again on stage our Executive Secretary and the President-elect of this Rotary Club of Marinduque Premier ESPE Cora Adata Borja for the orientation on the Model United Nations Assembly activity.
Pacquiao talaga. Manny Pacquiao. Okay. Now, I'm tasked to give an orientation, no? I would often hear people say, muna, teka muna. It's not muna, but it's MUNA, which is an abbreviation of Model United Nations Assembly. Now, what is this all about, no? Nung nagplano ang RCMT of MUNA, sabi ko, ano kaya MUNA muna na yan? Sabi ko, it's actually Model United Nations Assembly. Sana mag-work ang aking point na. Nawala. Ayan. Now, this is a simulation, MUNA is a simulation of the United Nations Parliamentary Procedure, which was found in 1945 after the World War II. Kaya Class A and Class B, i-take note yung itong data na ito, ha? We're not just here to have fun, but it is also part of your learnings in history. So way back WW2, the World War II pa yan, 1945. Now, why is it established? It is to promote international cooperation. Ang tama, international. Parang bulog. International cooperation. The original UN, take note again, my dear students, had 51 states. And now, hindi pa yata to updated, no? 193. The mission of the United Nations is to preserve world peace, which was complicated in the early decades of the Cold War between the US and the Soviet Union and their respective allies, and participated in by major countries in Korea and the Congo. So talagang siya ay parang meron tayong peace, no? Yun talaga ang kanyang pinagsimulan. Okay? So, during the General Assembly, ang okay lang, ang pinapayagan lang is one country, one vote, no? And then, nagkameron na ng iba't ibang pagbabago. It is called DICEC or SOCU or the ECOSOC or the kasama yung World Health Organization and then the Security Council because it is all about peace, no? And it extended in other areas like African states, Great Asia Pacific, Red East Europe, Pink Latin America, Yellow Western Europe, and meron din na tinatawag na Glow Group, no? So yan, dyan nagsimula, yan yung mga parts of the first UN Assembly. So it started, the venue of the first UN Assembly is in Harvard. Then nagkameron na ng simulation, and then nagkameron na, nag-improve, at it covered world diplomacy. Then, it encompassed reading, researching, debating, and writing. Kaya nga, when you hear the word parliamentary procedure, yung mga anak ko init na init. Kasi parliamentary procedure is really quite strict. No? Ano po na lesson nyo kanina? Hindi kayo pwede magsalitaan at hindi kayo nire-recognize. And it's quite frustrating for the debaters. No? Kasi when you do the debate, sabog ka na agad ng opinion. But here, you have to be disciplined. No? You are only allowed to talk when you are admitted. No? The administrators are called DAE. No? DAE. And then, another word that I'd like you to take note is the word decorum. When you say decorum, these are procedures that you have to follow. Ano na din in Philippine history, no? Decorum yung ang lalaki ay ina-expect na magbukas ng pintuan para sa mga babae. So that's a decorum, no? Paggamit ng po at opo, that's another decorum. Values, okay? And rules. Then for you to be part of the UN, you have to know, you have to be able to come up with what we call position paper. Now, na-lecture ko na yan sa inyo, na-share ko na sa inyo that you have to have your position paper for you to present in this particular assembly. Okay? In the position paper, you must have your brief statement of country's position. It has to be concise, one page lamang. And then the topics would revolve around problems, effects, previous actions taken by the country, and you don't just bring out problem, you have to have your solution. Okay? Now, before you move on to topic 2 and topic 3, kailangan well-versed ka na and you are already able to elaborate on topic 1. So that is for position paper. Now, I have here the flow of debate, though as was explained earlier by our UN Secretary General, it deviates. Depende kung based sa US, yung procedure mo, or based sa UK, United Kingdom, tulad sa spelling, no? Nagkakaiba rin ang approach. But basically, the flow of debate is with the roll call. Di ba kanina? Triname kayo doon sa roll call, ano? And then, setting of agenda, then debate, and then close the debate, and then you vote. Ito yung gagawin natin, no? After the program. Ganyan lang ang takbo natin. Okay? So, you are very familiar with this already. We will have formal debate and informal debate. No? Kanina na-meet niyo yung unmoderated caucus. Yan, yun yung informal. And for you to be able to present your position, you have to have your working paper. Ang working paper would be moving on to draft resolution, kaya nga tinatawag na draft, pag-uusapan, no? There will be amendments, hindi na natin inabot yan, no? Doon lang tayo sa first stage. Mag-a-amend kayo, and then you are going to vote whether you want that resolution to be adopted or not. Okay? Alright, so, eto na yung parts, you know this already, there should be 3 parts, the heading, preambulatory clauses, and then the operative clauses, and the pointed out is for you to always use the verb at the very beginning of the sentence. Huwag na tayo mag-grammar, okay? Alright, so yan yung mga laman. Let me take this up, I know you have heard this. Though hindi natin pupuntahan ang amendment part, meron tinatawag na friendly amendment and unfriendly amendment. As you can guess, tinatawag siyang friendly para siya ay ma-improve yung inyong drafted resolution. So you can say, is that a friendly amendment or unfriendly amendment? Pag unfriendly, it's a criticism. Okay? So those are the types of amendments that you have to be familiar with. So every voting procedure, nag-a-amend, ina-adapt yung resolution, and then you move on to the next topic. Okay? So ito rin yung in-real namin kanina umaga sa inyo. Speaker time, open and close the speakers list, suspend the debate, adjourn the meeting. All this we're going to go through during this particular activity. There are 3 points, no? Point of personal privilege, kaya nga madalas naririnig niyo, what's your point? Akala natin na moment na mimiloso ko. Pero actually, when you say, what's your point? That's a valid question. Because the speaker or the Secretary General would like to know whether you are going to speak on a personal point of personal privilege, point of information, or you would like to take an appeal. Okay? Ayan. Ito yung attire na orient na rin kayo. You're supposed to have your suits. Yan. Yung mga lalaki, slacks, loafers, babae, suit pa rin, appropriate dresses. Pag sinabing appropriate, di wala masyadong spaghetti, strap. Okay? Hindi pwede yung may buta sa shoulder. Ayan. Now, the last part is a sharing of the first MUNA representative of the Rotary Club Marinduque North. Ayan. Sila. Yung isa dyan, anak ko rin. Yung katabi ng bird. So, ito ay si Michano, si Tan, yung isa ay professor na ng Ateneo. Sino nga ito, Concept?
Montalan.
Si Rayleigh Montalan. And the one seated on the left of the bird is my third son. So kami lahat, isang pamilyang ating sa Luna. Kami lahat, yan. So we often discuss, and si Emilio kasi is very familiar with the Muna. Mahirap makontrol, kaya itong mga bata ay medyo na out of sorts kanina. So it is really very complicated, but at least you know the basics, right? Class A, Class B? Si Ryan? Ay, ang hina. Right? Yes! Ay, ang sagot doon ay left. Right. Ay, wala. Pwede ng joke. Okay. Yun yung magandang yun, yung flowery. Suot ko kanina yun. Yan. Ako yan. Ayan. Tapos every year, time out sila, nag-unmoderated focus sila. Nakiupo-upo ako muna saglit para makapost na. This is way back 2012. So, 10 years na yan. Payat pa ako. Okay? Etong questionnaire ko, IEG, binita ko ito. Sinanong ko, kasi after the MUNA, ay dito formal tayo. But Rotary should have also what we call RILA. Sana memorize ko ka. Rotary Youth Leadership, what's letter A? Award. Yan. Talaga si IHG. Ayan siya, oh. Payat pa rin. Yan. Andun ako nakasingit. Pero si Ann, kita mo, andun na siya, oh. Elementary pa lang, Rotarian na yan si Ann. Ayan. So, ito yung first try na kong na-attendan, which is an aftermath of the activities in RCMN. Okay? So, yan po, hopefully, wala namang sasabing muna-muna. It's me muna. Kung gusto mo naman mag-hide something, then you say, Model United Nations Assembly. Yan. Diba? Okay. So, that's all for your orientation. Tandaan, class A, class B, kasama ito sa ating lesson. Thank you so much, and I now return the microphone.
To continue with our program, it is really my pleasure to introduce and to acknowledge as well our distinguished judges. Kasi ang mga kasama po natin dito, ito kasi binigay na overview ni President-elect Borja yung tinatawag na. Alala ko tuloy noong aming high school days and college days yung tinatawag na Robert's Rules of Order. Ayan. Alam na alam yan ni Konsehal nung isa sa mga judges na ipapakilala ko sa inyo because ito yung ginagawa nila sa Sangguniang Bayan. So to start with one of our judges, ito kilala na namin dahil sobrang active din at talagang yung servisyo niya para sa Rotary at yung oras niya ay inilalaan para sa Rotary. Our first judge is a first-class Rotary or is the past president of the first-class Rotary year 2013. He's connected with a construction firm and also a coordinator of the first Governor Chess Tournament in Mimaropa. He also served as a consultant of the office of Congressman Lord Alan Velasco. He is the incoming Assistant Governor for the Rotary year 2022-2013 for District 3820 Area 3. Class A, Class B, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure, Assistant Governor Giovanni Buhani. Sabi nga po kanina ni President-elect Borja, yung susunod natin na forado ay kilala at inyo po dahil matagal at patuloy na naglilingkod para sa mga mag-aaral at para sa Marinduque State College. Ladies and gentlemen, our next judge is a first dean for the School of Environmental Sciences of this institution. She's also the program head of the Department of Environmental Science and a past president of Rotary Club of Marinduque North. She used to be the club trainer, current club trainer, and cadre. Is it cadre for supporting the environment for South Pacific region? And of course, talagang natutuwa po kami dahil hindi kami kinakalimutan at tuloy-tuloy yung binibigay na pagmamahal sa Rotary Club of Marinduque Premier. That's why she's our club advisor, ladies and gentlemen. Ang ganda naman ng ating next judge. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Evangeline Mandia. Etong next judge po natin, delegates of MUNA. Yan. Talagang dito kayo makakakuha ng mas maraming kaalaman pagdating sa tinatawag natin na parliamentary procedure o tinatawag namin ito during our college days na PARPRO. Parliamentary procedure. Itong next na guest natin, judge natin, ay kasama ko lamang po kagabi. At sabi ko nga, I am so much inspired with his work. He is also known as, to many, specifically dito po sa bayan ng Guac, Konsehal Makoy has a very promising career when he responded to the call of public service. His exposure to the marginalized sectors during his college days and while doing community outreach activities in some multinational companies had awakened him to the miserable conditions of our less fortunate brethren. He's a graduate from the University of Santo Tomas with a degree of Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. He also has a postgraduate units in Industrial Relations at the University of the Philippines, Diliman. And currently, he is our and love by many Councilor of the Sangguniang Bayan ng Buwak, Councilor Mark Angelo Loto Hina. So, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, sila ang bumubuo ng ating panel of judges for this afternoon. And to continue, alright, so to continue, let me present the delegates of this MUNA from the Philippines. Please stand if you acknowledge. You may take your seat. From you guys can go forward. Please. Ito sa harap, please. In front of stage. Para ma-acknowledge kayo properly ng ating mga judges. Alright. So, we have 6 representatives from the Philippines.
From the Philippines.
Thank you. Next, delegates a representative from the country of India.
Delegates from India.
Okay, once again, sila po ang bumubuo, delegates from India.
Namaste.
Kumusta ang Taj Mahal? Next!
Indiano ba? Hindi ba? Hindi. Namaste, Indiano.
Sige pa, sige pa.
Yan!
Also present in our MUNA representative or delegates from Brazil.
Oh my God!
Talagang hindi nagpatalo ang mga taga-Brazil.
Forca, Brasilia.
Thank you, Brazil. Next. Ito, meron ito. Egypt. From Egypt. Kailangan kayo yung pinakamabilis dito, ha?
Yeah.
Thank you, Egypt. And of course, last country representative from Myanmar.
Oh my Lord. Yehey! People in lang po.
Kaya sila bumubuo mula sa bansang Myanmar. Alright, since nakilala na po natin yung mga bubuo sa ating MUNA, ngayon naman ay malugod kong ipinapakilala sa inyo sapagkat sila yung magsisilbi at nagsilbing mga utak para mas maging maganda ang flow ng ating activity sa araw na ito. Of course, unahin natin ang kanilang presidente, Christopher Alexandre Paliano. Also, the Vice President, John Paul Buenaventura. Ang Secretary, Nicole Bien Mercado. Our Treasurer, Jorvis Arce Natividad. The Auditor, Catrina Cruz. And the Public Information Officer of the PIO, Mia Cristel de la Mente. So, ladies and gentlemen, sila po ang ating key leaders.
Yehey!
Thank you. At tayo po ay tutungo na sa ating Model United Nations Assembly o MUNA proper. Also, nakita ko na ang presensya ng ating membership director, also from the Marinduque State College, Director Marvin Plata. So, umpisa na po natin ang ating pinaka inaasahan na activity at hinihintay na activity para sa araw na ito, ang MUNA proper. So, please take it away. Before we finally start our MUNA proper, I would like to inform everyone, specifically the delegates, regarding the mechanics of the contest. As we are all aware, this is a simulation of the United Nations Assembly. As President-elect Borja mentioned a while ago, the contestants are representing countries that they have selected to represent. Each country is represented by 2 delegates. All the delegates are registered contestants, so even if there are 2 delegates for each country, both delegates are considered contestant. Number 3, each contestant will deliver a speech. This will be the basis for choosing the most eloquent speaker. Their drafted resolution will be presented, and the best resolution will be selected and credited to both delegates. Lastly, the delegate with the best costume will be awarded. After considering these 3 components, the best delegate will be chosen. The first 3 delegates will be awarded as champion, first runner-up, and third runner-up. And lastly, the criteria for evaluation have the following components. For most eloquent speaker, remember guys, 50%. Number 1, articulation. 10% po yun. For the diction or the pronunciation and enunciation, 15%. Yung grammar ay 10%, and coherence and clarity of ideas presented, 15%. So, remember, yung 3 points will be deducted if the speech is not delivered spontaneously or read from the script and the whole time speech is delivered. So, meron po tayong best in drafting resolution, composed of 30%, for the content, 10%, and then soundness of the solution presented is 15%, while the faithfulness in the following the draft given, 5%. Of course, alam naman namin na nag-prepare po talaga ang ating mga kalahok, kaya we will be given and magbibigay din po tayo ng award para sa Best in Costume, 20%, yung authenticity is 10%, and creativity, 10% as well. So, all in all, that's 100%. Again, ready na ba ang ating MUNA delegates? Eto na po, napasanok ng prosa ang ating mga delegates. Natutuwa kami sa pagkakakita talaga ninyo at ipapakilala ninyo ang inyong kahusayan dito sa ating MUNA. Take it away.
Thank you, sir.
United Nations Secretary.
Thank you, sir, for the glorious introduction to all of the delegates. Okay, so we are now ready to call this meeting into order. I hope everyone is now settled into their places because we are ready to begin the assembly. All right, welcome, delegates. By the power vested in me as the UN Secretary General, I hereby declare this assembly in order. I am Emilio Martin Borja. I am your UN Secretary General for this assembly. I am honored to be hosting this meeting, and I am eagerly looking forward to you representing your country's best interests in this assembly. I would like you to meet the rest of the DAI. Ladies, kindly.
I am Sydney Rose Emily Mata, and I am your UN Records Clerk.
I am Anzarine A. Borja, your UN Secretary.
Thank you. And these two ladies are the rest of the DAIs for today. And now that without further ado, we shall begin the roll call for today's assembly. Madam Secretary, can you do the honors?
We will all begin with the roll call. When your delegation is called, please rise and state whether you are present or present and voting. And at the same time, raise your flaglet. Brazil,
Present in voting.
Egypt, India, present and voting. Myanmar,
Present in voting.
Philippines, present and voting. Mr. Chair, a total of 5 delegates are present.
Ms. Secretary, point of order. Can we confirm whether the delegates of Egypt are with us today?
Yes. We delegate from Egypt would like to propose the topic, water scarcity.
Okay. So it seems the red delegation of Egypt is present and with us today. Egypt, are you voting? Thank you, delegation of Egypt. Myanmar, can we confirm your attendance in today's assembly? Are you present and voting?
Present in voting.
Thank you. We have 5 delegations present today. It seems we have instituted the quorum. Thank you, Madam Secretary. We can move on to the next phase of the assembly. The floor is now open for recommendations as to topics to be discussed in today's assembly. Are there any motions on the floor? India, you are recognized. You may have the floor.
The delegates of India would like to propose and include the topic to women empowerment in India.
The delegation of India has moved that the topic of women empowerment in India be included in this assembly's agenda for today. Are there any seconds to that motion? Myanmar, you're recognized. Do you second India's motion?
Yes. I second the motion.
Myanmar, the delegation of Myanmar has seconded India's motion. Are there any objections?
All right, seeing none, India's motion to include the topic of women empowerment in India in this Assembly's agenda for today is hereby approved. Are there any other motions on the floor that you'd like to consider? Myanmar, you are recognized. You may take the floor.
The delegates from Myanmar would like to impose the topic improving public safety against human rights violations in Myanmar.
Thank you. The delegation of Myanmar has moved that improving public safety amidst human rights violations in Myanmar be included in this Assembly's agenda for today. Are there any seconds to that motion? Brazil, you are recognized.
We second the motion.
Brazil has seconded Myanmar's motion to include improving public safety amidst human rights violations in Myanmar to today's Assembly. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we open the floor to further motions for consideration. Brazil, you are recognized.
Delegates from Brazil would like to impose the topic of drug trafficking in South American and Latin American countries.
Thank you. Brazil has proposed to include the topic of drug trafficking in South American and Latin American countries in this Assembly's agenda for today. Are there any seconds to that motion? Egypt, you are recognized.
We delegate from Egypt would like to impose the topic of
Point of order, you may speak. You may put your motion forward when you are recognized. All right. Egypt has put forward that they second Brazil's motion to include drug trafficking in South American and Latin American countries into today's agenda. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the floor is now open for further motions. Philippines, you are recognized.
The delegates of the Philippines would like to propose to set the agenda topic of climate change.
The delegation from Philippines has proposed to include climate change in this Assembly's list of agendas for today. Are there any seconds to that motion? Brazil, you are recognized.
We second the motion.
Brazil has seconded the Philippines' motion to include climate change as a topic for today's Assembly. Are there any objections to that motion seconded? Seeing none, are there any other further motions to be considered for today's Assembly? Final call. Egypt, you are recognized.
We delegate from Egypt would like to impose the topic on the water scarcity.
Thank you. Egypt has proposed that water scarcity in their home country be included in this Assembly's agenda for today. Are there any seconds to that motion? Brazil, you are recognized.
We second the motion.
Brazil seconds Egypt's motion to include water scarcity in Egypt as a topic for today's Assembly. Are there any objections to that motion seconded? Seeing none, we now move on to the setting of speaking times for the country profile and opening statement presentations for each delegation. The floor is now open for motions. India, you are recognized.
The delegates from India would like to set the time for country profile presentation.
The delegation from India has moved and proposed that 2 minutes be set as the duration for presentation of country profile for each delegation. Are there any seconds to this motion? Philippines, you are recognized.
The delegation of the Philippines second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that 2 minutes will be set for the presentation of country profiles for each delegation. Are there any objections to this motion? Seeing none, the floor is now open for the setting of duration for the presentation of opening statements for each delegation. Myanmar, you are recognized.
We move that the duration for the opening statement be set to 3 minutes.
Myanmar has moved the 3 minutes be set as the duration for presenting the opening statements for each country. Are there any seconds to this motion? India, you are recognized.
Our delegation seconds the motion.
It has been moved and seconded. The 3 minutes will be set as the duration for presenting the opening statement for each delegation. Are there any objections to this? Seeing none, we now resume to set the speakers list for each agenda. Madam Secretary, can you do the honors?
We shall now open the primary speakers list to discuss an issue that should be addressed in this assembly. Added to the list are the following delegates who will speak in this order: India, Myanmar, Brazil, Philippines, and Egypt. The following topics are hereby set for discussion: women empowerment in India, improving public safety amidst human rights violation in Myanmar, drug trafficking in South American and Latin American countries, climate change, and water scarcity.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Seeing that every delegation has a speaker to be included in the list, we shall now move to listen to each delegation present their country profile. Are there any motions to this effect? Are there any motions to move to listen to the country profile presentation of each delegation? Brazil, you are recognized. It has been moved and seconded that we will now move on to the presentation of country profiles for each delegation. India, you may take the podium. You may start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the delegate of India. India is the second most populous country in the world, with an estimated population of 1.37 billion people. The country is subdivided into 29 states and 7 union territories, with an area of 3,287,263 square kilometers. India is the 7th largest country in the world, about 1/3 the size of the USA. India is a land of various cultures and heritage. It is one of the most religiously and ethnically diverse nations in the world, with some of the most deeply religious societies and cultures. Religion plays a central and definitive role in the life of many of its people. Although India is a secular Hindu-majority country, it has a large Muslim population. In India, sexual violence against women and girls is a serious issue. The Indian legal system makes it difficult for survivors to receive justice, and members of the nation's underprivileged communities suffer even greater obstacles. Illiteracy is also a current issue. There is a gender gap in schooling across India, which is mostly a result of poverty and regional cultural customs. This being said, there are often no designated restrooms in schools for girls who menstruate. Lack of hygiene in the nation is another barrier to education. India's children literacy rates in 2011 show the greatest gender difference in access to education. 82% of males were literate compared to only 65% of girls who could read and write. According to statistics, by 2019, there were approximately 10% more girls attending secondary school in India than there were in 2011. Even while this represents a substantial improvement, there is still much to be done to guarantee that girls have the same access to high-quality education as boys. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, delegate from India. We will now listen to the country profile of the next delegate. Delegates from Myanmar, you may now take the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am the delegate from Myanmar. The Southeast Asian country of Myanmar, also referred to as Burma and the Golden Land, is profiled in Destination Myanmar on Nations Online. The southern Andaman Sea, the Gulf of Matama, and the Bay of Bengal all border Myanmar's extensive coastline. It shares borders with Bangladesh and the Indian states of Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. In the northwest, Laos and Thailand in the east, and China in the north and the northeast. With a surface area of 676,578 kilometers, the nation is slightly smaller than the U.S. state of Texas, or almost twice the size of Germany. A 55 million strong population lives in Myanmar. Yangon is Myanmar's largest city. It's a former capital and its economic hub. Since 2005, Naypyidaw, a planned city in Burma's center, has served as the nation's new administrative capital. Official language is Burmese, and the main regional tongues are Kachin, Kaya, Karen, Chin, Mon, Rakhine, and Shan. About 1.3 million speak Rohingya, the language of the Rohingya people of Rakhine State. The Rohingya are one of the most discriminated against minorities in the world. According to the UN, due to the oppression and violence they experience in Myanmar, hundreds of thousands of Rohingya fled from Western Myanmar in the neighboring country of Bangladesh in 2017. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate from Myanmar. We shall now listen to the country profile of the next delegate. Delegate from Brazil, you may now take the floor.
From the delegates of Brazil, we give you our warmest gratitude and greetings. So, officially, good afternoon. The Federative Republic of Brazil, Portuguese, is the largest country in both South America and Latin America at 8.5 million square kilometers, that is 3,300,000 square miles. And with over 217 million people, Brazil is the world's fifth largest country by area and the seventh most populous. Its capital is Brasilia, and its most populous city is Sao Paulo. The federation is composed of the union of the 26 states and the federal district. It is the largest country to have Portuguese as an official language and the only one in the Americas, one of the most multicultural and ethnically diverse nations due to an over century of mass immigration from around the world and most populous Roman Catholic majority country. And interesting things about Brazil: diverse ethnic and cultural groups, gigantic and extravagant festivities being celebrated, majestic environment and fauna. Brazil has the largest economy around the world. Brazil has the longest stretch of continuous coastline, about 4,655 miles. And Brazil's capital, Brasilia, looks like an airplane from above. And around 60% of the Amazon rainforest is in Brazil. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Delegate from Brazil. We will now move on to the next delegate, Philippines. You may present your country profile. Take the floor, please.
Honorable Chair, esteemed guests, and to my fellow delegates, greetings from the Philippines. The Philippines, also called as the Pearl of the Orient Seas, is a culturally diverse country and is rich in nature and resources. It is situated in the Southeast Asia and western of the Pacific Ocean. Consisting of more than 7,640 islands. It shares the maritime borders with China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Palau, Vietnam, and Taiwan. It is also considered as one of the most largest archipelagic nations in the world and is classified into three main geographical areas: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The capital of the Philippines is Manila, and the language spoken here is Tagalog and English. Philippines is one of the most westernized nations in Southeast Asia, a unique blend of Eastern and Western cultures. It is due to the colonization of Spain and United States of America, which is the main significant drivers on influencing the Philippine culture. Despite this, the Philippines has a lot to offer, as they are also known for having an abundance of beautiful beaches and delicious fruits, containing a wide array of cultures, beliefs, and traditions. Their national costume is the barat saya and barong. They are the traditional Filipino dresses that symbolize the rural life in the Philippines and is often worn today to represent one's Filipino culture and identity. Some things in the Philippines are famous for are the Banawi rice terraces, the walled area of Intramuros, the Mascara Festival in Bacolod, and the small but dangerous Taal volcano. In terms of economy, the industry drivers are the construction, tourism, manufacturing, and services industries. Within the manufacturing industry, petroleum, transport, equipment, beverage industries, and food are the top contributors of the economic growth. The Philippines has significantly improved in the past years. Despite the constant threat of the climate change in our country, Filipinos still manage to laugh it off and see the silver lining on things. With this, they can overcome the daily struggles of life as they are known for being strong, resilient, and loving. Together, we can make this country a better place. Together, we can overcome our problems. Thank you.
Much thanks to the Philippine delegation. Delegates from Egypt, you may now have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am a delegate from Egypt. Long known for its ancient civilization, Egypt is the largest Arab country and has played a central role in Middle Eastern politics in modern times. In the 1950s, President Gamal Abdel Nasser pioneered Arab nationalism and the non-aligned movement, while his successor Anwar Sadat made peace with Israel and turned back to the West. Egypt's teeming cities and almost all agricultural activity are concentrated along the banks of the Nile and on the river's delta centrated along the banks. Saturated deserts occupy most of the country. The economy depends heavily on agriculture, tourism, and cash remittances from Egyptians working abroad. Mainly Saudi Arabia are the Gulf countries. However, rapidly population growth, the limited amount of arable land, and straining the country's resources and economy, and political unrest has often parallayed government efforts to address the problems. Retired Field Marshal Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was elected president in May 2014, almost a year after he removed his elected predecessor, the Muslim Brotherhood's Imam Musi, from office in a coup. He had served as Armed Force Chief Government, which took over after a key figure in the interim government, which took over after the ouster upheaval. Since the removal of the term leading has Mubarak during the Arab Spring uprising in 2011, others worry that he represents a return to the authorization security state that prevailed under Mubarak. That's all. Thanks.
The delegation of Brazil has moved to have an unmoderated caucus set at 10 minutes. Are there any seconds to this motion? Delegates from Philippines, you are recognized.
The delegation of the Philippines seconded.
It has been moved and seconded that we are going to move into an unmoderated caucus set at 10 minutes. We may now take a recess.